Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And the metaphor, it involves nanobots. The metaphor I'm going to be sharing in this week's podcast came out of a conversation happening in one of our mastermind groups, and it was a conversation based around something that I've been sharing in my teaching for many years. And it's the understanding that no matter how little it seems like there is to do, there's even less to do in order to have your life work really well. And a lot of people, when they hear that, kind of get it. And ways I've explained it in the past. If I hired you to, let's say I'm an insanely wealthy person and I really like the way the pond on my property looks when the surface is smooth because it reflects the trees and the birds. And so when it's undisturbed, it creates these beautiful visuals. And so I hire you to be a caretaker, and your job is to keep the surface of the lake or the pond as smooth as possible as much of the time as you can. Well, pretty much anything that you tried would work against the outcome. If you tried to freeze it so that it couldn't move, well, that would stop it from reflecting. If you tried to smooth the waves by sort of moving something over the surface, well, that would just create more waves. If you tried to block the wind, then that would interfere with the light, and that would interfere with the thing. And while it might stay smooth, it wouldn't reflect anymore. The best way to pull off your job would be to do absolutely nothing and collect your paycheck. Because pretty much everything you do to make it smoother makes it less smooth. Well, that's always been for me a decent but not great metaphor, because our life doesn't feel like that. It feels like, well, it does matter when I do stuff, and it is important that I put in the effort to break this habit, or to be calmer, or to be more assertive, or to behave more in the way I think I should behave and less in the ways I think I shouldn't behave, and yet there's still a fundamental truth that the less we do to improve our lives, the more our lives improve. And I was playing around with another way of talking about it, and here's the metaphor that came up. So I don't actually know what a nanobot is, but I've watched enough science fiction movie to imagine all these teeny tiny little creatures. And like in science fiction, when they inject nanobots into a body, the nanobots find exactly what bit of the body needs healing, and they go in and they knit up the skin and they fix everything in that bit, and then it's as good as new. And if they need to fix, like if a tank gets a hole blown in it, they'll go into the tank and they'll literally rebuild the metal until it's like it never happened. And so these metaphorical nanobots, imagine that they are already in you, and their job is that any time you get unsettled, anytime you get knocked off your game, anytime you're behaving in less than helpful ways, they'll scurry in and fix it. And when they're done, it'll be like it never happened. But here's the thing about metaphorical nanobots. They're allergic to human interaction. So if you go in and try to do anything, the nanobots they'll scurry away, and they won't come back until you stop messing with it. Well, if that were the case, then what would happen is you'd work really hard to try to figure something out, and then not long after you gave up, the answer would suddenly appear. If there were metaphorical nanobots taking care of everything, but they couldn't do their work when you were interfering, then when you we're in a really low spirit, in a really low state of mind. The second you stop trying to cheer yourself up and wondering why you were in a low state of mind and trying to address the causes of your low state of mind, whether you thought they were in the world or you thought they were in you or that you thought they were genetic in some way, the second you just gave up, you'd start to feel better. And then almost without noticing, you'd wake up one morning and realize you felt great. And that's how it would work if there were metaphorical nanobots taking care of everything. Now, I'll be really honest. I'm pretty sure there are not metaphorical nanobots or real nanobots running through our brains and taking care of everything. But I do notice that's a pretty good approximation of how we work. The human mind, it has a self-correcting mechanism. The body has a self-correcting mechanism. The body is always trying to get back to homeostasis. It's always trying to keep its temperature at roughly 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And it'll cool it when it's too hot with a fever, and it'll, warm it up by generating, energy inside the body to try and warm it up if it gets too cold. And the body will do that. If there's a cut, the body will heal it. We see it all the time. The body is designed for optimal health. And when we interfere with it and we keep pouring toxins in, we keep trying to fix it, often we inadvertently wind up making it worse, or at the very least delaying the healing process. But it works exactly the same in the mind. When we stop trying to figure it all out and improve it and work on it and work on ourselves, this innate health, this innate movement towards well-being kicks in. And before we know it, we're good as new. It's like it never happened. And then we can mess with it again, and then we'll come back to ourselves again. And so my invitation, if this intrigues you, if this sort of self-correcting mechanism or even the literal metaphor of the nanobots is intriguing to you, what do I invite you to do this week as a sort of a life experiment is not try to fix things, not interfere with your system, not try to be a better person, not try to think better, not try to feel better. Just let yourself be and see what happens. And my experience is, not only will you find yourself with more energy and more attention because you're not using it all up trying to fix yourself, but you'll also be surprised at just how much of the time you feel really well and have really helpful thoughts that make a real difference in how you show up in the world. And if you want to learn more about the sort of basics of this, I invite you to do our free basic course, which you can find at michaelneill.org/basic course. And through a series of 12 video lessons, it'll give you an introduction and a sort of more in-depth understanding of the principles behind what I'm talking about in this podcast. Until then, have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.